Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening.
On a brisk morning at the International Space Research Station, Dr. Ethan Ward adjusted the dials on his monitoring equipment, scanning the skies for any anomalies. The calm of the control room was suddenly broken by an array of alarms and flashing lights. A small, sleek spacecraft, unlike any he had seen before, approached Earth. "Marcus, are you seeing this?" Ethan called out to his colleague, Dr. Marcus Flynn, who rushed over with a look of incredulity. "Is that?" "Yes, it's not one of ours. And it's definitely not from any country on Earth." Ethan's voice was a mixture of excitement and apprehension as he observed the craft's descent. As the spacecraft landed smoothly in the designated quarantine area, the station's director, Dr. Alan Reed, joined them. "Gentlemen, let's keep our cool. Prepare the welcome protocol, and Ethan, you're on communication duty. Let's hope they come in peace." The airlock doors hissed open, and a figure stepped out. She was tall, with luminous skin and eyes that reflected a curious intelligence. "I am Lyra from Valoria," she announced in perfect English, much to the astonishment of the welcoming committee. Ethan stepped forward, extending a hand, which Lyra observed and then mimicked the gesture. "I'm Dr. Ethan Ward, and this is Dr. Marcus Flynn and Dr. Alan Reed. Welcome to Earth." "Thank you, Dr. Ward," Lyra replied. "I am here to learn about your species and culture. I hope for a meaningful exchange of knowledge." Marcus chimed in with a warm smile. "We have much to share and are eager to learn from you as well. What can you tell us about Valoria?" Lyra's lips curled into a slight smile. "In time, I shall share everything. But first, I must understand your ways, particularly your methods of reproduction." The three men exchanged glances, slightly taken aback by her directness. Alan, recovering first, gestured towards the main building. "Perhaps we should continue this conversation indoors. There's much to discuss and prepare." As they walked, Ethan stayed close to Lyra, intrigued by her fascination with human biology. "Our reproductive methods are probably quite different from yours. What is reproduction like for Valorians?" "It is not unlike your methods of plant grafting," Lyra explained, observing the flora around the compound. "But I am here to experience human culture firsthand, including the personal aspects of your lives. I'm sure we can arrange for you to learn about all facets of human life." Ethan responded thoughtfully, pondering the ethical implications of what she was asking. Inside, they settled into a conference room where Lyra was introduced to various team members. Each member presented their field of expertise, eager to contribute to this historic interstellar cultural exchange. As the meeting adjourned, Marcus leaned over to Ethan. "Do you think we're ready for this? It's not just about sharing technology, but understanding her, emotionally, physically." Ethan nodded, his mind racing with possibilities and responsibilities. "We have to be. It's not every day we get to make an interstellar connection like this. Let's just take it one step at a time." The chapter closes with the team gearing up for a series of in-depth discussions and preparations, aware that the days ahead would challenge their scientific boundaries and perhaps their personal ones as well. The next morning, Dr. Ethan Ward and Dr. Marcus Flynn prepared a detailed itinerary to introduce Lyra to various aspects of human life. They decided to start with something universally relatable: food. In the station's dining hall, Ethan and Marcus presented a variety of Earth dishes. "We thought we'd start with something simple. This is breakfast for many around the world," Ethan explained, pointing towards plates of eggs, pancakes, and fruits. Lyra examined the food with interest. "In Valoria, we consume energy orbs that are synthesized with the nutrients we need. This variety is fascinating," she commented, picking up a strawberry and tasting it. Marcus watched her reactions with amusement. "Glad you like it. Maybe you'll find something you prefer over those energy orbs." Their conversation was light and filled with laughter as Lyra tried different foods, asking numerous questions about each dish's origin and significance. After breakfast, Alan joined the group. "Lyra, we've also set up a tour of our research facilities. We'd like you to understand the scientific endeavors we undertake here on Earth." "That would be enlightening," Lyra replied, her eyes lighting up with curiosity. As they toured the facility, Ethan took the lead, explaining the various research projects. Over here we have our hydroponics lab. We're experimenting with ways to grow food in space. Lyra was intrigued. Valorians have similar setups for our space missions. It's vital for long-term sustainability. Marcus then showed her the robotics lab. And this is where we develop machines designed to assist in daily tasks and dangerous missions. Some are even equipped with AI to make independent decisions. Do Valorians use artificial intelligence? Ethan asked. Yes, but our systems are designed to enhance emotional connectivity rather than perform tasks, Lyra explained. The conversation flowed seamlessly into the realm of technology and culture, each sharing insights from their world. Ethan noted, "It's interesting to see how our approaches to technology and its uses reflect our cultural values." Indeed, Lyra agreed. It seems your technology is very task-oriented, aimed at solving specific problems. Ours is more integrated into daily life, enhancing our social and emotional experiences. As the day progressed, they introduced Lyra to the Communications Center, where Dr. Lorichin explained human-digital communication. This is how we stay connected across the globe, Laura noted, showing Lyra the internet and various social media platforms. Lyra was fascinated. Valorians are connected through a neural network. It's more about emotions and thoughts than written or spoken words. The tour concluded with a visit to the medical bay, where Dr. Kevin Singh showed Lyra some of the medical technology used on humans. This machine here can diagnose diseases based on a few scans. How do Valorians handle medical issues? Our bodies can self-diagnose and often self-heal. More complex issues are treated with biotechnology, Lyra explained. Throughout the tour, Ethan, Marcus, Alan, and the rest of the team worked closely together, eager to find common ground in areas for potential collaboration. Lyra's visit was shaping up to be more than just an exchange. It was a gateway to understanding and perhaps one day, a partnership in the cosmos. As they walked back to the main conference room, Ethan reflected on the day. Lyra, how do you feel about what you've seen today? It's been incredibly enlightening. Your world is both complex and beautiful in ways I hadn't imagined, Lyra responded warmly. Marcus smiled, clapping Ethan on the back. Looks like we're off to a good start, eh? Yes, Ethan replied. A very good start indeed. The day closed with plans for deeper discussions on technology and perhaps personal elements of human life, something Lyra was particularly keen to explore further. The following day, Dr. Ethan Ward and Dr. Marcus Flynn arranged a private meeting with Lyra in one of the smaller conference rooms to discuss more sensitive aspects of human life, specifically focusing on human relationships and intimacy. Alan joined them to provide a broader perspective and ensure all discussions were handled with utmost respect and professionalism. Ethan started the meeting with a clear and cautious tone. Lyra, yesterday you mentioned an interest in understanding human reproduction methods more personally. We need to discuss what that means and the boundaries we must respect. Lyra nodded, her expression serious. I understand the sensitivity of this subject. On Valoria, our interactions are more communal, but I respect that human connections are deeply individual. Marcus added, it's also about mutual consent, Lyra. Any personal interaction here is based on the explicit agreement of all parties involved. Consent is sacred to us, Alan interjected, reinforcing the point. It's about understanding and agreeing to what will happen, free from any pressure or obligation. Lyra listened intently, her gaze shifting between the three men. I am here to learn, not to overstep. How do we proceed if I wish to understand this part of human life? Ethan explained, we can discuss theoretical aspects, and if you wish to explore personal experiences, it would require clear, ongoing consent from anyone involved. They must be fully aware of the circumstances and willing to participate without reservation. Thank you for clarifying, Lyra said, her voice calm. I appreciate your openness and the seriousness with which you approach this matter. Marcus suggested, maybe we should start with the basics of human relationships. There are many types of relationships and different ways people express intimacy. That would be helpful, Lyra agreed. Over the next hour, the men took turns explaining various human relationships, familial, platonic, romantic, and professional. They discussed the importance of emotional connections, trust, and communication. As for romantic relationships, Ethan continued, they often involve deeper feelings. People might express their affection in many ways, through gestures like holding hands, hugging, kissing, and more intimate acts. Lyra was curious. Is there a common progression in these relationships? It varies widely, Marcus replied. But typically, it starts with dating, spending time together, getting to know each other, before moving on to more serious commitments like exclusive relationships or marriage. And the physical aspect? Lyra asked delicately. That too depends, Alan said. It's deeply personal. Some might move quickly to physical intimacy, while others take their time. But the key is that both people are comfortable and agreeable to each step. Lyra absorbed the information, her demeanor thoughtful. On Valoria, our connections are less physical and more telepathic. Emotions and consent are shared through our neural network. This concept of verbal consent and individual choice is new but important to me. The conversation helped Lyra understand the nuanced landscape of human relationships. Ethan felt it was necessary to add, if, at any point, you or anyone else feels uncomfortable, the interaction should stop immediately. Continuous consent is crucial. Thank you for being so thorough, Lyra responded, showing genuine appreciation for their candor and sensitivity. As the meeting concluded, Marcus noted, "This is just the surface, Lyra. There's much more to learn, and we're here to answer any questions you have." "Indeed," Lyra said, smiling at them. "I look forward to continuing our discussions." Ethan, Marcus, and Alan left the room feeling a mix of relief and responsibility, knowing they had started a complex but potentially rewarding dialogue about one of the most personal aspects of human life. After several days of theoretical discussions about human intimacy, Lyra expressed a desire to understand these concepts more practically, yet respectfully. Ethan, after consulting with his team and ensuring a clear mutual understanding with Lyra, arranged for a more interactive session. In a quiet, private setting within the research station, Ethan began the session with an emphasis on communication. "Today, we'll focus on the human touch, which is fundamental to our interactions. It's about comfort, care, and consent." Lyra nodded, her eyes keen with curiosity. "I am ready. I want to understand the emotional impact of these actions." Ethan explained the basics first. "We'll start with hand-holding. It's a simple gesture, yet it holds much significance in human culture." He extended his hand toward Lyra. "May I?" "Yes, you may," Lyra responded, placing her hand in his. Ethan gently held her hand, showing how humans squeeze slightly to show affection or support. Lyra's face lit up with a smile as she experienced the warmth and pressure. "It feels comforting." "That's the perfect word for it," Ethan said, pleased with her reaction. Next, Marcus joined them to demonstrate a friendly hug, explaining its context among humans. Hugs can mean different things depending on how long and tight they are. They're common among friends as a way of showing affection or support. "May I try to hug you, Marcus?" Lyra asked, clearly understanding the protocol of consent they had discussed. "Of course, Lyra," Marcus replied, opening his arms. Lyra stepped forward and embraced him cautiously. After a moment, she relaxed, understanding the comforting nature of the embrace. "This feels very personal, very warm," Lyra observed, stepping back with a thoughtful expression. "It is," Marcus agreed, nodding. "It's about sharing a moment of closeness." Ethan then guided Lyra through other forms of physical interaction, such as the pat on the back and the gentle touch on the arm during conversations, explaining the subtle nuances of each gesture. As they progressed, Alan introduced the concept of emotional connection through eye contact. Looking into each other's eyes can be quite powerful. It's used to convey sincerity, love, or solidarity. Lyra tried maintaining eye contact with Ethan, who returned her gaze steadily. "I see," she said. "There's a lot communicated in silence this way." "Yes, it's another layer of our communication," Ethan replied, his voice soft, ensuring she was comfortable. Feeling more confident, Lyra reflected on the differences between human and Valorian interactions. On Valoria, we connect through shared emotions via our network. These physical expressions are new to me, but they resonate similarly through felt emotions. Ethan smiled, recognizing the importance of this learning for both Lyra and their team. It's about building trust and showing vulnerability with each other. I am beginning to understand the significance of these gestures, Lyra said. They require trust and a willingness to share part of oneself. As the session ended, Ethan, Marcus, and Alan felt a sense of accomplishment. They had navigated a complex aspect of human behavior with sensitivity and respect, facilitating a significant cultural exchange. Lyra thanked them, her expression one of gratitude. Thank you for this learning. I feel more connected to your species now. You're welcome, Lyra. Ethan responded warmly. We're here to learn from each other. As they walked out of the room, the mood was contemplative yet optimistic. They had crossed a bridge of understanding that was crucial not just for their records, but for fostering a deeper intercultural connection. After the session on human touch, Lyra seemed intrigued and eager to deepen her understanding of human emotional expressions and relationships. Ethan proposed the next step would be exploring emotional connections through shared experiences. He suggested that music and art, universal languages that transcend words, might be a good medium. Ethan and Lyra were joined by Dr. Marcus Flynn and a new colleague, Dr. Reproduction, who specialized in human arts and psychological effects. They met in the station's multimedia room, a place equipped with various instruments, artworks, and a high-definition sound system. Today, we're going to explore how music and art can evoke emotions and build connections, Robert explained, gesturing towards the paintings and then the music setup. These are powerful tools for expression and can be very intimate. Lyra looked around, visibly fascinated. On Valoria, we use sonic patterns for meditation and healing, but I sensed this might be different. Ethan started a playlist of classical and contemporary music, observing Lyra's reactions. Music can bring out feelings of joy, sadness, nostalgia, and more. Each piece tells a story or conveys an emotion. As the first strains of a violin concerto filled the room, Lyra closed her eyes, swaying slightly to the music. After a few moments, she opened her eyes, her expression thoughtful. It's beautiful. It stirs something deep within. Marcus nodded. It's interesting to see how universal music can be, even interstellar. Do any of these emotions feel similar to what you experience with your sonic patterns? Yes, but this feels more personal, more connected to individual experiences, Lyra replied. Robert then guided Lyra to a set of paintings ranging from abstract to realistic landscapes. Visual art, like music, can also evoke deep emotional responses. Each viewer might interpret a painting differently, making it a personal experience. Lyra studied each painting, sometimes touching the textures. This one, she pointed to an abstract swirl of blues and greens, feels like the ocean waves on Valoria. It's calming yet powerful. The men shared insights into the history and techniques behind the artworks, further helping Lyra connect the emotional dots. Ethan took the opportunity to introduce the concept of art creation as a form of therapy and self-expression. Many find creating art as therapeutic as experiencing it. Could I try to create something? Lyra asked, eager to engage more actively. Absolutely, Robert said, setting up an easel with canvas and paints. Go ahead and express whatever you're feeling right now. As Lyra painted, the men watched, discussing softly among themselves the breakthroughs in communication and understanding they were witnessing. Lyra's strokes were tentative at first, then grew more confident, the colors blending into a vibrant landscape. When she stepped back, her creation was a mix of earthen and Valorian elements, a beautiful representation of her journey and learning. I feel a mix of peace and exhilaration, she explained, looking at her work. Ethan responded warmly, That's a wonderful representation of your experiences here, Lyra. Art can be a bridge between cultures, helping us share what words cannot. Marcus added, It's a meaningful way to document your feelings about this exchange. As the session closed, Robert offered Lyra a small art kit. Why don't you take this? You can continue to explore art during your stay. Lyra accepted, her eyes bright with gratitude. Thank you, Ethan, Marcus, Robert. Today was enlightening. I feel closer to understanding the human heart. They left the room filled with a sense of accomplishment, not only in advancing their interstellar dialogue, but in fostering a personal connection that was both profound and unique. As they parted ways, the emotional bonds they had nurtured felt stronger, promising a deeper understanding in the days to come. As Lyra's understanding of human culture deepened, so did her curiosity about the more intimate aspects of human life. She approached the topic again with Dr. Ethan Ward, who had become not only her primary human contact but also a trusted friend. One evening, in the privacy of the station's observatory, under the backdrop of a starlit sky, they revisited the conversation about human intimacy, ready to explore this final frontier. "Lyra, are you sure you want to continue exploring this aspect of humanity?" Ethan asked, his tone gentle but concerned, ensuring her comfort was paramount. "Yes, Ethan, I feel it's essential to understand all facets of human emotions and connections, including intimacy," Lyra replied, her voice steady and sure. Ethan nodded, respecting her decision. "All right then. Intimacy can be a profound connection between individuals. It's not just physical, it's deeply emotional." Marcus had joined them, at Ethan's request, to maintain a balanced and respectful dialogue. "It's about sharing your true self, your vulnerabilities and strengths," Marcus added, helping to set the stage for a sensitive discussion. As the evening progressed, they spoke of many things: love, relationships, and the bonds that form between individuals when they share their lives, not just their bodies. Lyra listened intently, absorbing every word. "And when two people decide to be intimate, how do they begin?" she inquired, her curiosity piqued but cautious. "It usually starts with something as simple as a conversation, much like this one. Then, perhaps a kiss," Ethan explained, careful to keep the discussion respectful and informative. "A kiss?" Lyra repeated, intrigued. "Yes, it's a gesture that expresses affection, tenderness, or desire," Ethan continued. He looked at Lyra, asking silently for permission, which she gave with a nod. Ethan leaned in slowly, giving Lyra time to reconsider, and gently pressed his lips against hers. It was a soft, simple kiss, but for Lyra, it was a revelation, a flood of new sensations and emotions. When they parted, Lyra touched her lips, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's warming, stirring." "That's a perfect description," Marcus said with a smile, pleased to see the interaction handled so thoughtfully. Ethan and Lyra then discussed how intimacy can progress from kissing, involving more personal interaction, always underscored by ongoing, mutual consent. "Is this how relationships often evolve among humans?" Lyra asked, trying to correlate these actions with the emotional connections they had discussed previously. "Yes, typically," Ethan replied. "Every step deepens the connection, builds more trust, and expresses more profound affection and care." As they continued talking, Lyra's understanding of human intimacy grew. She was fascinated not just by the mechanics, but by the emotional depth and significance behind each gesture and touch. The night drew to a close with a deep, mutual respect for each other's boundaries and a significant enhancement of their cultural exchange. Lyra felt a profound appreciation for the human capacity for emotion and connection, while Ethan and Marcus were touched by her sincerity and eagerness to learn. "This evening has been invaluable," Lyra said, her voice reflecting her deep emotional engagement with the learning process. "I'm glad to hear that, Lyra," Ethan responded warmly. "Remember, what we discussed and explored is a significant aspect of being human. It's complex, filled with emotions and responsibilities." Lyra nodded, a thoughtful expression on her face. "I see the beauty in your ways now, the depth of your connections. Thank you for sharing this with me." As they left the observatory, the stars above seemed to shine a little brighter, mirroring the enlightened bond they had cultivated. A bond not just of friendship, but of deep interstellar understanding. The morning after their profound exploration of human intimacy, Lyra and Ethan met in the communal lounge of the space station. The air was filled with a quiet understanding, a mutual respect forged from the previous night's heartfelt revelations and experiences. As they sat down with their morning coffee, the conversation naturally flowed towards reflections on what had transpired. "Lyra, how are you feeling today after everything we discussed and experienced last night?" Ethan asked, his tone one of genuine concern and curiosity. Lyra paused, her gaze drifting towards the viewport, where Earth slowly turned below them. "I am still processing the depth of what we shared. It's very different from anything on Valoria, but I am grateful for the experience. It's opened my eyes to the complexity of human emotions and connections. Ethan nodded, sipping his coffee. It's not something we take lightly here either. Each step, each moment we shared, is a testament to trust and understanding. Fundamental aspects of our relationships. Marcus joined them, sliding a tray of breakfast items onto the table. Good morning, you two. I hope the discussions yesterday were enlightening. Very much so, Lyra responded, offering him a smile. I have a newfound appreciation for your customs around intimacy and emotion. Marcus sat down, helping himself to some food. It's one of those areas where you really see the diversity of human expression. Every individual, every culture has its nuances. The conversation shifted as Dr. Alan Reed joined the table, keen to hear about Lyra's thoughts. Lyra, from an anthropological perspective, I'm curious how you might compare these experiences to Valorian practices. Do you think there's something we humans could learn from Valorian relationships? Lyra considered this for a moment before responding. On Valoria, our emotional connections are more communal, as I've mentioned before. We share emotions through a network, which ensures a collective harmony. However, what I've experienced here, the personal nature of human connections, the emphasis on individual emotional journeys, is quite beautiful and deeply personal. Perhaps both our species could benefit from understanding each other's methods more deeply. Ethan leaned in, interested. In what way do you think that could be beneficial? Understanding the value of individuality in emotional connections could help Valorians appreciate personal boundaries more. Conversely, humans might find value in our communal approach to emotional support and well-being, Lyra explained. Alan nodded thoughtfully. It's a fascinating exchange. The depth of personal choice in human relationships could indeed offer a new perspective to your people. Lyra, as they continued their breakfast, the discussion delved deeper into potential cultural exchanges beyond just emotional and intimate relationships. They explored ideas about how Valorian communal technologies might benefit human societies, particularly in managing collective well-being. Marcus, always the technologist, was intrigued. Imagine integrating some form of your emotional sharing technology with our digital social platforms. It could revolutionize how we handle social care and mental health. Lyra was thoughtful. That could be a worthy project to explore further. Perhaps we could start with a small, controlled experiment to see how our technologies interact. Ethan smiled, pleased with the progress of their discussions. It sounds like the beginnings of a meaningful collaboration. The morning wrapped up with plans to draft a proposal for a joint research project between Earth and Valoria, focusing on the integration of Valorian emotional connectivity with human social technologies. As they all left the lounge, there was a sense of accomplishment and anticipation about the future possibilities of their interstellar partnership. Their dialogue not only bridged the gap between human and Valorian cultures, but also set the stage for future collaborations that could benefit both worlds immensely. As Lyra's time on Earth drew to a close, the team at the International Space Research Station gathered to discuss the outcomes of her visit and the future steps of their collaboration. The atmosphere was bittersweet, filled with the satisfaction of successful cultural exchange and the reluctance to say goodbye. In the main conference room, Ethan, Marcus, and Alan, along with Lyra, sat down for one final meeting. The walls were adorned with images of Earth and Valoria, symbolizing the newly forged connection between the two worlds. Lyra, your visit has exceeded our expectations, Alan began, his voice tinged with gratitude. The insights you've shared about Valorian culture and the openness with which you've embraced ours have paved the way for a promising partnership. Lyra smiled warmly. I am equally grateful. The experiences I've had and the emotions I've felt here are invaluable. I believe we've laid a solid foundation for future exchanges. Ethan leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. Before you go, we should finalize our plans for the joint research project on emotional connectivity. Marcus, could you recap the technical proposal? Marcus nodded, pulling up a document on the digital screen. Based on our discussions, we propose starting with a virtual exchange program. We'll use Valorian technology to create an integrated emotional network, initially among a small group of volunteers from both our worlds. Lyra was intrigued. This could be a significant step towards enhancing the well-being of both our populations. I am eager to see how our communal technologies can be adapted to benefit individual emotional health on Earth. Ethan added, and we're just as eager to learn. If we can understand and maybe even replicate some aspects of Valorian emotional resilience, we could advance our own psychological therapies. Alan interjected, I've already spoken with international partners. There's substantial interest and potential funding to support this initiative. It's a testament to the importance of what we're starting here. The group discussed logistics, timelines, and the necessary steps to launch the project. As the meeting drew to a close, the time came for more personal farewells. Lyra, on behalf of all of us, thank you. It's been a profound pleasure, Alan said, extending his hand. Lyra took his hand, then embraced each of the men in turn. Thank you, Alan, Ethan, Marcus. I leave with a piece of earth in my heart. I hope to welcome you to Valoria someday. Ethan smiled, feeling the weight of their accomplishments and the sadness of departure. We'll look forward to that day. Safe travels, Lyra. As they walked Lyra to the departure bay where her spacecraft was ready, the group shared lighthearted stories and reminisced about the past weeks. The goodbye was filled with laughter and a few unshed tears as they reached the airlock. Remember, this isn't goodbye. It's just until next time, Marcus quipped, trying to lighten the mood. Lyra nodded, her eyes bright with unspoken emotions. Until next time, my friends. With a final wave, she turned and entered her spacecraft, which soon detached from the station and began its journey back to Valoria. The team watched through the observatory windows as the craft became a speck against the vastness of space, each lost in thought about the future. They had started something bigger than any of them had anticipated. A bridge between worlds built on mutual respect and curiosity, promising a future where humanity and Valoria could learn from each other and grow together. As the spacecraft disappeared, Ethan murmured, reflecting the thoughts of all, here's to new frontiers, to understanding and peace. With that, they turned back to the station, ready to begin the next phase of their work, inspired and invigorated by the journey they had embarked on with Lyra. The project ahead wasn't just a scientific venture. It was a step toward a deeper understanding of the universe and themselves.